Okay, remember that people who know that I'm right are changing my voice because they worship the devil. This is my official stance on the cloud in the Bible that Christ comes back on at the end of the Bible. I believe this is part 7. We're on Job 22, okay, because we're taking it in clips here. I believe I left off on Job 20, where I pointed out that the heritage of those who cheat me out of my right to lead is that they will suffer God's wrath, and their offspring will suffer God's wrath. They've been warned time and time again in the Bible, and there's over 380,000 churches in America alone, and over 20,000 denominations. The gospel, so to speak, has been preached to the world figuratively in the way they said it, first and foremost, and to a large degree literally, as the Bible said it would. And then the end would come, and now the end is here. Job 22. Yet you say, what does God know? Does he judge through such darkness? Or Job 22:13, right? Yet you say, what does God know? Does he judge through such darkness? Thick clouds veil him, so he does not see us as he goes about in the vaulted heavens. Now, God can judge no matter what is what the person's getting at, right? And it's saying that thick clouds can conceal something. That part is correct. Okay, the thick clouds can conceal something. And that's part of what we must ascertain is part of the description the Bible is given us in regards to the cloud at the end of the Bible. See, Christ says, I am, and you'll see me at the right hand of power coming on the clouds of heaven. Okay, and then at the end, it talks about he's coming back on the clouds, and every eye will see him, he'll mourn, right? And the Bible says, he who has an eye, let him see. Every person who's alive, who's in the divine order, will see him. Okay? Now think about it. This can't be literal, right? Some people are blind. How can every eye see him if some people are blind? So it must be for those who have a spiritual vision, who live in reality, not some fantasy heel-clicking world. Reality. This is not Peter Pan. This is not the Broadway show Cats. This ain't the fat lady singing at the end, neither. So to speak. I said it that way on purpose so it would click in your minds. Not joking at all, obviously. Job 26. For what hope have the godless when they are cut off, when God takes away their life? Does God listen to their cry? When distress comes upon them, will they find delight in the Almighty? Will they call on God at all times? I will teach you about the power of God, the ways of the Almighty. I will not conceal. You have all seen this yourselves. Why then this meaningless talk? Here is the fate God allots to the wicked, the heritage a ruthless man receives from the Almighty. However many his children, their fate is the sword. His offspring will never have enough to eat, right? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5. So it says, no matter how much they try, the sword of God, the Spirit of God will crush the offspring of the wicked, and they'll never have enough righteousness and justice, right, to truly have a worthwhile life, and they'll never make it to heaven. And those are serious consequences. Being some kind of rock and roll worm, no offense to anybody, is not a life worth living. Being a thug with no higher cause is not a life worth living. That's why these people often scramble out of desperation to the white man's church, which they know is false, but on the off chance there's something they're missing, they scramble there and try to be saved, right? Because they don't believe it's worth living. Being a corporate, greedy psychopath is not worth living. You have Rihanna. When she was talking sense, she said that money isn't everything, that person's a billionaire. Not the only one who's ever said that. I grew up in a house that's worth like $5-10 million now. I've heard two different numbers. One is 5 million, the other is 10 million. Okay? In Saratoga, this rich place, nice house, nice pool, all this stuff. Okay? I'll tell you, as the son of two doctors, a brain surgeon's son, money is like the least comfort I've had in my life. Being a great basketball player gave me comfort. Being a righteous man, number one. Being with God, right with God, number one. Not even close. Money is just a fool's pursuit. It's an idiot's pursuit. Righteous men laugh at the wicked for pursuing money instead of manning up and living a fulfilling and worthwhile life. Job 30. Now that God has unstrung my bow and afflicted me, they threw off restraint in my presence. On my right, the tribe attacks. They lay snares for my feet. They build their siege rafts against me. So what is his complaint right here? He says that God has unstrung his bow. He's not saying God took away my chemistry kit. He took away my Freemasonic apron. He took away my white privilege. That's not what he's saying. He's saying God took away his warrior spirit, his warrior capabilities, spiritually speaking. And they're compared to weapons for a reason, because it's a martial arts spirit. God's spirit is a warrior spirit. God is love. The Lord is a warrior. Okay? It's a holy, righteous, true love having, romantic imperative, moral imperative, warrior spirit. Universal pinpointed moral precision and focused moral intensity is often how I describe the spirit. And he says, now on his right, the tribe attacks. They lay snares for my feet. They build their siege rafts against me, because he's no longer in this kind of warrior mentality, this Royal African Falcon warrior state of being, where he's being led by God, who's the essence, right? He's the essence. He's the power behind me, the top martial arts ever. Okay? Ever possible. And he's like, what do I do now? They break up my road. They succeed in destroying me. No one can help them. They say they advance as though a gaping breach. Amid the ruins, they come rolling in. Terrors overwhelm me. My dignity is driven away as by the wind. My safety vanishes like a cloud. I'm going to say it another time, then say it with me. My safety vanishes like a cloud. Now say it with me. My safety vanishes like a cloud. What are they referring to? The cloud at the end is the chance to have refuge, seeking refuge in the Lord, being gathered in the clouds, as Paul later says. And you all know damn well that I know what I'm talking about. I've been making videos for years and years and years. And in this series alone, we're like on what, part 7? You think I'm making this up? I've proven to you this is real. Terrors, he says, terrors overwhelm me. My dignity is driven away as by the wind. My safety vanishes like a crowd. So God marshals them to the pit of pitiful, mental weaklings, worms, mockers, scoffers, careless, senseless, shallow people, ditzy people. People that try to play contrast game. I'm on the news looking good compared to the other people we sabotage to look worse than I do. How do I look? You look like an oppressor who's benefiting from the sabotage of Tiny fucking Tim in A Christmas Carol, pal. You look like an asshole. The company of the godless is barren. And no offense to anybody. I'm sure some of the people in the news can be quite charming, what have you, but they're not right with God and they need to obey God through me. And now my life ebbs away. Days of suffering grip me. Night pierces my bones. My gnawing pains never rest. In his great power, God becomes like clothing to me. He binds me like the neck of my garment, right? The clothing like the cloud that covers the land. God's clothing, right? Christ on the top, the wicked abusing him on the bottom. He throws me into the mud and I'm reduced to dust and ashes. I cry out to you, God, but you do not answer. I stand up, but you merely look at me. You turn on me ruthlessly with the might of your hand. With what? The might of your hand. Say it with me. The might of your hand, the might of your hand, the might of your hand. With the might of your hand, you attack me. And of course, God is not attacking me. God knows what I'm saying right now. He knows my heart. He knows my soul. You turn on me ruthlessly with the might of your hand. You attack me. You snatch me up and drive me before the wind. You toss me about in the storm. I know you will bring me down to death, to the place appointed for all the living. So what does the martial arts spirit of God do? The mighty martial hand of God do? It marshals them. Marshal, right? To order, to arrange. And marshal is marital scramble. It orders them. They're going to be married to a useless slut. Their kids are going to be married to a useless slut, so to speak, if they get married at all. And then they're going to be marshaled to hell after a pitiful life. God's mighty hand says, you are wicked. You don't get a fulfilling life. You don't get a worthwhile life. You betrayed the most righteous person that ever lived. What kind of offspring are going to come out of you? Do not snakes breed snakes? Wolves breed wolves? Owls breed owls? Jackals breed jackals? Then what about you? You traitors to God and his Son. Okay, so it turns out that it is Job 27, 8 through 14 as the second section that I cite and not Job 26. Though Job 26 is interesting, and we'll get into that in the next video.